I hope everybody is well and excited. We're going into the second part of market overview. I know everyone is as excited as I am about statistics, so let's keep moving through this round of the presentation. So don't blink, please don't blink. Um, so we're going into the market overview for Jamaica. Jamaica's economy is much different. One of the things that you're going to notice is Jamaica is going through a different experience from that of Barbados. It's no less difficult, but it is a very different experience. So pay attention to the differences. I'm sure some of you may be a little bit more versed than you were probably a few minutes ago about some of these statistics. It's almost a repetition of the same statistics, just a different country. So do pay attention. So let's head right into there. Unlike the Barbados presentation, I'm not going to go over the different introduction to services. So we're going straight into the statistics. I know you're excited. So let's start with Jamaica's population. It is the largest country in the English-speaking Caribbean. That means your market is larger. As a service provider, that is very important to note. The size of a population also, it gives you an indication as to your demand. So pay attention to the population size. I'm sure you're aware of it, but that means that just by sheer value of population, your market opportunities are probably just a little bit greater just based on numbers. So as we can see, GDP growth here is negative 0.3. I'm sure this is not news to many of you. You've been hearing about Jamaica and the market. You understand Jamaica has been going through much hardship during the time. It has been negative since 2007. In 2011, they saw a brief positive growth, but unfortunately that has not been sustained. Unlike Barbados, Jamaica, in addition to having tourism and remittances, they also have a manufacturing and agricultural sector. As you will see in the employment statistics, you will see a lot of persons are actually employed in these sectors. Remittances is something new in Barbados. We did not see that. A remittance, in essence, is when a local person, for example, a Jamaican, moves to New York, and he gets a job and he sends money home. Believe it or not, that accounts for 15% of Jamaica's economy. That means 15% of their GDP is given by persons sending money home. It is one of the largest in Latin America. Actually, the largest is El Salvador, which has about 40% of their GDP as remittance. So that's something important to note. They're very heavily dependent on their foreign nationals, which we refer to as diaspora. They're heavily dependent on that and their international image. They brand Jamaica everywhere you go. It's very hard to go to a country and you don't know where the Jamaicans live. So the next thing we're going to look at here is just a brief policy update like Barbados. Unlike Barbados, their hardship is not being dealt with internally. Jamaica has brought in the IMF again. I'm sure many of you are wondering why. They went back to the IMF. Before they started this arrangement in 2013, 150% of Jamaica's GDP was debt. That means everything they own, and 50% of everything that they own was accounted for in debt. That means that they were owing every year more than they made, almost twice more than they made, and that is a serious problem for their economy. They've been struggling with that since, the 70s and 80s when they first went to the IMF, and it doesn't seem like they've mastered the waters just yet. The structural reform strategy that they're using under this extended arrangement, which is for the value of $932 million US. The first level is to promote growth and employment. The second level is to improve competitiveness and business climate. The third is to create a floor for social spending. As a policymaker, this is probably the most important part because what they're trying to do is to make sure that Jamaica never goes back to 150% of their GDP as debt. So they want to curtail public expenditure to make sure that persons in public life they're a little bit loose with their hands in terms of where they borrow from, where they spend. But one of the most important thing I think is, for many of you in this room, is to promote growth and employment. Jamaica has created many tax reforms to do this. This is considered to be one of the largest reforms in their tax structure since Jamaica became independent in 1962. It is one of the largest overhauls. In addition to adding these taxes, they reduced and they removed and made some taxes null and void. I'm just going to make mention to the few taxes that they've added to their current structure. The fiscal incentive tax is a tax in essence which they hope to is a tax that they hope to use to promote some sort of infrastructural development and research and development. So they have lower corporate tax, they have employment tax credits. So if you have a business in Jamaica and you hire a certain number of nationals, you get a tax break for employing Jamaican nationals. And they also give you tax breaks for research and development. So if you're interested in research in Jamaica, the time is now. The taxes became enacted in January of 2014, so it is currently in effect. The next one, which I think is very important for persons in the construction sector, is the income tax relief for large scales and pioneer industries. They have listed a number of pioneer industries in Jamaica that they're trying to push, trying to develop, and they are giving persons tax breaks for investing in those industries and also for large infrastructural development programs. In order to qualify for these tax breaks, you also have to hire Jamaican nationals. As you can see, they're trying to push people to hire more Jamaicans, but as well invest in the country. If that is something that you're interested in too, as I said, the time is now, because they're really trying to invite people to come into their country and invest in the development of their persons and also the country. And as a regional partner with the CARICOM in effect, where we have the free movement of natural persons, which has a few glitches in the system, as you may or may not know. As a CARICOM national, it's a lot easier for you to go and operate in Jamaica right now than, say, it would 10, 20 years ago with the skills certificate. So it's easier to take advantage of some of these tax reforms that have taken place. So if you need any more information about these, but these are very important things to note. Moving along, as you know, I spoke about debt. As you can see, Jamaica's debt is measured in US dollars. It is not measured in Jamaican dollars. So every debt that they pay back, they have to convert. As you can see, over the years, since 2007, Jamaica's exchange rate with the US has been increasing. It was 2000, it is 100 and, it's forecasted to be 101 in 2014. My colleague who actually did the presentation for the goods department last week actually informed me that it was 105 when she went in January, in last year. So it's past that point. So this forecast is already null and void. But it is important to note that as the exchange rate increases, it becomes harder and harder for Jamaicans to finance their debt. So every time their exchange rate increases, that means that the Jamaican government has to put out more Jamaican dollars in order to afford $1 of debt financing. That is very problematic in terms of fixing their economic problems right now. If they cannot get the exchange rate under control, even though their debt may be decreasing in numbers, it is actually increasing in value because a Jamaican dollar is worth less, and that means their debt is actually more. So following the exchange rate is very important to note where Jamaica will be heading in the future in terms of their ability to get their debt under control. The extended arrangement is not, it's only for a few years, and if they're not able to get their debt under control by the time the extended arrangement would have ended, that means that the loan would not have done some of the things it was expected to do, and they may actually be facing another crisis following the end of this IMF loan, which could mean more problems in the future. We hope not, but it's something that I think everyone should monitor closely, because there are a few dangers when investing or doing business in Jamaica, specifically the stability of their economy. So employment by sector, this was something that was requested last week. It's something that I did not make mention to in terms of the composition of Jamaica's employment. This employment period was from 2012 to 2013. For every period, the largest sector was wholesale retail and repair, which is mechanics and so forth of motor vehicle and equipment. That was the largest. As I stated before, Jamaica has a very buoyant, active agricultural sector, as you can see here, it is the second largest employer of their economy. Other key areas, construction, hotels and restaurants, transportation, real estate, those are slightly more negligible than these two areas. There are other areas that were significantly lower, actually, than these. It is important to note the composition of their economy, to know the type of services they would demand. If you're in an economy that does not have a lot of persons employed in the business sector, obviously there's a shortage of qualified and trained persons to execute a certain task. That's great for us in Trinidad, because that means that they need us. So it is important to note the composition of their economy, to know some of the areas that your services may actually be in high demand. As I said before, one of the things they're trying to do is to make sure that Jamaicans are employed in any investment areas in the country. So it's also important to note, if you're going to be hiring Jamaicans to conduct some of your business, construction, to execute an architectural task, to understand some of their backgrounds, in terms of the types of persons you may be employing, the types of training that you may require to be able to bring them up to your standards. These are important things that these little statistics kind of show us. It doesn't tell us the whole story, but it kind of gives us a little bit of a background. Another important statistic is the Consumer Price Index. You would have seen the Retail Price Index in the last presentation about Barbados. The Retail Price Index is an average of the price that it is sold at. The Consumer Price Index is the average of the price the consumer pays. As you know, the consumer may be willing to pay a price that is higher. For example, if you go to a local neighborhood shop, it may not be the same as going to, say, a Price Mart because it's not sold in bulk. So the consumer would be paying a different price than it may actually be retailed on average, depending on where they go, where they live, and other factors like that. So that's a little difference in the statistic. Both show inflation. Both show the increase in prices. Both show a change in the standard of living. For the period January to February 2014, the prices consumer paid for a specific bundle of goods increased as of September 2013, and it hasn't looked back. They have just been sprinting ahead, and it has not looked back. That means that Jamaicans have been and will continue to be spending a lot more money than they would have in, say, January 2013 for a specific bundle of goods. So let me just give you an example. Say, for example, transportation. What this statistic tells you is in 2013 of January 2013, it would have been more affordable for a consumer to be able to pay for a bus trip or to be able to pay to go to work in the morning than, say, it would have been, according to this statistic, in February 2014. So if you are making a flat income, say you're making 3,000 Jamaican dollars, Trinidadian dollars or US dollars a month, your salary remains the same, but the prices for the goods and services that you pay is increasing and increasing and increasing. That means that your income is not valued at the same value as it would have been in January 2013. That means that Jamaicans do not have as much money to spend as, say, January 2013. That will impact the demand for your services. It is something that you should watch to make sure that you're not entering the market blindly without understanding how the people are doing. Because if the people don't have money, even though the government may be okay, it's really the middle class, as you always say, the health of the middle class is the health of an economy. So if they don't have money to spend, chances are any spending the government make will eventually run out if they don't keep being replenished, if they're not replenished by the spending of the people. One of the final things I wanted to note was opportunity sectors. I know my colleague will speak more to that based on her research findings, but one of the things I wanted to give you all was an opportunity to also get another website to potentially look at some of the opportunities. I found it very helpful, the website, because they list out very clearly some of the sectors, the opportunities, and they actually give you a breakdown of each of the subsectors of each market. For this specific seminar, I only pulled out the creative industries, knowledge services, logistics and tourism. They also have some areas of energy services. It's quite a plethora of opportunities, and it's very clearly stated and outlined for your attention in the event that maybe you're looking to diversify, or maybe you're looking to establish a commercial presence to understand the opportunities that may be there for your specific business. That's the end for me today. No more statistics, I know. So I hope that you learned something from today. And please feel free to contact me or any of my colleagues if you need any more information on the Jamaica market. In addition to myself and some of my colleagues who would have actually attended the market survey, we have an export market research that is always available to offer, as I said before, free market research for you. So we're not expecting you to have all of the skills and capabilities to do this for yourself, but we want to give you the tools to be able to succeed nonetheless. In addition to this, one thing I do want to make mention to as well is we have a lot of training programs that teaches you how to do some of this research by yourself. So I would invite everyone to look at the training schedule in your booklet to see if there's anything that, you would want to learn to do yourself so that you won't need to constantly have to depend on, say, an export TT every time you need information, and you can learn to execute it yourself. So please take some time when you're looking through the booklet to look through some of the training sessions, and you can speak to anyone here if you're interested in anything. Thank you very much.